Welcome back everyone to my Let's Play of Ogre Battle, March of the Black Queen. Orpheus and his army are still here in the Orion Sea, trying to bring justice to High Monk Randalls, who definitely did not earn that position, because no one's ever seen him in the temples. He's actually a merchant who bought that position. Basically, he paid off the Empire and they put him in charge of the temples in this area. And he is using that position to enrich himself. He's charging all the worshippers, taxes and charging them money just to do basic, rites in their worship. So, Orpheus is here to teach him that crime doesn't pay. So, but before we can do that, we have to take out all his bodyguards that were, I guess, given to him by the Empire. So, but just as Orpheus is here to teach him a lesson, my rat Pops has a lesson for everybody, and that lesson is to not sleep on chocolate, because if you do, you end up having to get a bath. Yeah, Pops, last Friday, he went to the vet for a follow-up checkup on his abscess. He had an abscess develop on his belly, and the vet drained it 2 weeks ago. So the vet wanted a 2-week follow-up appointment, and everything went well. But in addition to giving him a good report, she also gave him a piece of chocolate, because Pops really likes chocolate. So when I got home from the vet, I gave Pops his chocolate, and he took it into his cage, and he took it into his little hiding log hut. It's a multi-purpose rat toy. They can chew on it to grind their teeth. They can burrow in it. So Pops was in there with his piece of chocolate, and I guess to further keep it safe from anybody who might try to intrude on it, he decided to sleep on it. And when he woke up, his belly was just covered in chocolate. So I had to give him a bath, and he did not learn his lesson, because the next day I gave him a different piece of chocolate, and he still did the same thing. So 2 baths in a row for Mr. Pops. So he was not a big fan of that. He squeaks whenever he gets a bath, but can't keep him, covered in chocolate. That would not be good. Silly little Pops. I heard that one of the 4 Devas, General Louvalon, is in Solon Castle. Louvalon must have been called here by High Monk Randalls. We're going to learn that that's not entirely true. Louvalon has different goals. He was sent to this area by Endora. And he's not actually in this map. We'll fight Louvalon in the next map. The map that you have to defeat to open up the way to the city of Xanadu. So in that way, the southern route and the northern route here kind of mirror each other. You have one map, and then after the first map in the route, you end up on a new map that is led by one of the remaining Devas, and at the conclusion of that map, you get one of the remaining mystic treasures. So yeah, after we defeat Louvalon in the next map, we will be able to get the last sacred treasure, the Grail. And we will learn that basically Louvalon was sent to this region not because of Randalls, but because Endor wanted to get the Grail. We were told that Endor was searching for the Grail because everyone who possesses the Grail, it basically blesses their rule. King Gran, the previous king, used it to help unify the continent, so... And Orpheus is going to have to find that Grail if he wants to secure the best ending. So, obviously we are going for the best ending, so we'll be getting that Grail, but before we can, let's, not get too far in advance here. We have a lot left to do here in this map. Speaking of getting too far in advance, we have our one unit up there that went way too far, and now she's surrounded by a whole bunch of units, so we're gonna have to push up and help her a little bit here, but we gotta take care of these guys first. Alright, so we stoned the monk, so now she won't be able to heal. And now we can just pick off the dragon here. At least our giant is doing some pretty good damage to it. So, another good round, and we should be able to finish that unit off. It all depends, of course, if the cockatrice manages to turn the monk into stone. Otherwise, she'll get a turn or two to heal, depending if the cockatrice misses both times. And we can't afford that. So, well, the good thing is this unit is doing pretty good in terms of holding down the fort. So, as long as our golems make a few hits, they'll do good. I must have a pretty good piece of armor on the regular golem there on the right, because he's not taking too much damage from magic. So, and golems are pretty strong on their own, so they're one of the few melee characters who would probably benefit from armor rather than a weapon. Most of the time I put armor on spellcasters, or like the shamans, the cleric classes, because they tend to have lower resistances, especially to physicals. So the armor helps shore up that defense, and they're not doing much attacking anyway. Spellcasters also can benefit from armor if you don't have something to boost their intelligence. So liches, they get, I tend to give the intelligence boosting things to them, and then the next would be like the witches to help make their stun attacks more effective. But spellcasters that I tend to give the armor to would be like the sylphs, the seraphims, the low hit point spellcasters that don't have good resistances. So princesses will also go in there. And we need to get somebody up to help the golem unit out there. Yowza, she's Rexanne, she's pretty popular up there. Everyone's coming after her. Maybe they want her autograph for her golems. They're like, wow, you're using golems effectively? Wow, we didn't think that was possible. Yeah, golems kind of get a bad rap. So maybe they're massive fans. They're like, whoa, golems being used properly? I shifted the golems over because the leader is on the left there. So I want to obviously keep the leader alive as long as possible. So I moved all my golems over to the right so they take out the henchmen. Now this one might be a little bit tougher. Yeah, that worm with the wyvern with its fire breath, and then the muse with the 2 lightning spells. That could cause some trouble. We just have to hope that our golems make good connections. I'm surprised they're all doing pretty good. Wyverns have, pretty good agility, similar to the eaglemen and the ravenmen that we've been fighting. So I was half expecting a lot of misses to happen, but thankfully we did not. So, unfortunately, I think this does end up taking a toll on my golem's alignments. For the most part, my golems have been pretty good in terms of their alignment. But because they're fighting so much, defeating a lot of enemies, gaining levels, I think after this map they end up getting a significant downgrade in their alignment. But remember, alignment, it's not important for the golems, because golems can never promote. A regular golem is always going to stay a regular golem, a rock golem is always going to be a rock golem, and an iron golem is always going to be an iron golem. There's no promotion tree for golems. So the only reason you'd want to have different alignments is to determine when they, want to fight. So if you want to have them fighting at night, make them low alignment. If you want to have them fighting during the day, keep them high alignment. So that's the only thing that alignment would affect on them. It's just, the time of day that they'll be fighting. So, although it's probably for the best to keep them high alignment fighting in the day, because they're hanging out with a monk. And the monk is a pretty good unit to keep with the golems, because the golems have low hit points, and the monk is able to heal them up. So that's why, even though the golems are taking some damage pretty much every fight, they're pretty much ending every fight with full hit points. Because those 2 heals that the monk gives are more than enough to basically heal the golems up to full. You think about it, see, the golems have 137 hit points, and the monk is healing, about 45 per use. So that's 90 around, which means that she's healing about 2/3 of their max hit points. And most likely they're not going to take that much damage just in one fight. So, we have a lot of attacking tarot cards. So that's good. The good thing with tarot cards is that they never miss. So, and as we saw, bosses can be pretty dodgy. Well, these characters were being somewhat dodgy too, but it doesn't matter. They're doing so few damage to our characters that pretty much like 1 or 2 attacks from the golems is gonna outnumber all the damage that they do. Yeah, the paladins are only hitting for 1, so now can we finally finish off one of these characters? Yeah, if we finish off that Raven Man, that would be for the best. Not that we've really been losing this battle, and we've been winning all the time, but the Raven Man's the only one who's dealing decent damage. Golems tend to have the weakest resistance is fire. So his the Raven Man's Inferno is the only thing that's really doing damage to the golems there. And we found a Roshian Temple. Maybe they'll complain about Randall's. They were like, what a schemer. Always trying to find a new way to get a big buck. I'm watching some documentaries on some crime, criminals on Tubi TV. Like I said, I got a thing in the mail talking about this new app called Tubi, and you can put it on your computer too, so it's not just a phone app. It's a web page, and they have a bunch of like movies and TV shows and all. It's free, so you don't have to pay anything for it. You have to watch ads, so it's basically just like watching regular TV with like commercials, but the commercials ain't that long, so yeah, I've been checking out a few new crime documentaries, and there's a few that have been dealing with people who were swindlers, especially back in the turn of the 20th century. People peddling, miracle cures. This one guy was peddling, this one doctor was peddling miracle water, but basically all he was doing was taking tap water and putting like a blue dye in it to make it look like it was special. And then he, charge people like, enormous amounts of money, claiming that it would, heal them, and just a bunch of swindlers like Randall's here. Too bad there was no Orpheus back then to bring justice. Too bad we didn't get a justice card. That would have been a better card, but yeah. Rattles an embarrassment to the name of the temples. He declares attacks for the blessing of the gods, attacks for a tribute to the gods. When I think of the damage this will do to the temples. Arr! Well, he don't care about the temples. Like I said, he's not a monk. He didn't own that position by, you know, doing the... I guess it would be similar to, you know, the position of, like, the Pope in, like, the Catholic Church. You know, have to work your way up to, from, like, a parish priest to a diocese bishop to a cardinal, then to a pope. I'm probably missing a lot of steps, but you have to work your way up. I heard that even though Rattles is man of the temples, he is studying necromancy. If that's true, it could damage the reputation of all the temples on the continent. Uh-oh. Man, this Rattles is getting worse and worse. He's probably studying that necromancy under Rashidi. He's a lot of the folks who have been studying under him have been studying black magic and necromancy. Capella, Abuela to a certain extent because he keeps resurrecting himself. Omnicron back in Antalya. So, and then he's teaching black magic. He taught it to Duke Apros, and also to he corrupted Deva Previa. We were told that he once was a pious man, but then he started studying black magic under Rashidi. That's why he was able to use that black magic meteor spell as his final attack when we fought him. Well, we've taken care of all the flyers in this unit. And we surprisingly, we lost. We beat that unit many times when they had all their characters. Uh-oh, what's going on? Let's see if we can hopefully, they're a land unit now, so hopefully we can get back to the city before they get there. I had to reach over and my chair's squeaking a little bit there. Had to reach over because Pops is on my lap and yes, he's just made a stinky. Poor Pops. Gotta go to the bathroom, I can smell it. But he's probably had to go because I'm feeding him some Nutrical. Pops is getting old and he's not eating as much and he's starting to develop the hind end degeneration. So I have to get him some extra calories, especially with the protein in it, to help stave off the muscle degradation in his back legs. Then I also give him a little bit of therapy. I put him on his back and I just get his little foot and I roll it around so as it forces the muscle to be used, or I push on his foot and then his instinct kicks in to push back. So it's just a way to get a little bit of exercise in for him. And if his legs get that bad, I still have the wheelchairs that I got from Arthur and Durf that, you know, I can have him use one of them to get around in. But I've been making accommodations for him to make his life a little bit easier while he still has some mobility. Had to alter the cage a little bit, put stuff lower, so I'm not using as much as his cage. Things are lower, the ramps are less steep, so we can still get up the ramps. He doesn't have to climb to get anywhere, there's ramps everywhere, so rats are good climbers. But now with that, like I said, with the issue with his back leg, I don't want him climbing because, you know, he can potentially fall. We don't want our Pops hurting himself. Have to go to the vet again. And even though he'd be like, oh, the vet, I get to get chocolate. Pops, you don't need to go to the vet to get chocolate. Dad will get you all the chocolate you want. Although his, I guess even though he's a, you know, a tame rat, you know, that wild rat instinct is still there to, you know, hoard food. So, like I said, there's no need for him to hide his chocolate. No one's gonna take it, and even if somebody did take it, you know, I'd give him more than enough. It's always funny when I, you know, adopt a new rat. well, a new pair of rats, because I always adopted in pairs or more. You know, the rats would come in, and you know, I'd give them a treat, and they'd always like fight over treats. And it took them, you know, a little while of living with me to realize that, you know, they didn't need to fight over food anymore. That there was always going to be more than enough in their food and their snack dish. So, but like I said, still sometimes they would revert to that hoarding mentality, or that, you know, the fighting mentality to guard. Pops was like that. Durf ended up getting an abscess on his neck, and he had to get drained, so he was having trouble swallowing. So I ended up getting SpaghettiOs for them to eat, and Pops just loved the SpaghettiOs. Maybe I should go pick up some more SpaghettiOs for him. But he just loves SpaghettiOs, and he would like climb on top of the bowl, like to kind of like cover it so that nobody else could get it. The other rats were just looking at him like, we want to eat some stuff too. But Pops was being a little greedy. But now Pops is all by himself, so he doesn't have to worry about any other rats to steal his food. So, yeah, Pops will live out the rest of his life alone. I mean, he has me and Spartacus, but I haven't seen my mother in so long because she don't like rats, and I can't go visit her with any rats, and she won't come visit me with any rats, and she's been, you know, telling me that she needs to see me, and so this year I started with a bunch of old rats, and I was like, well, I'll wait until all of them pass away, and then I can finally go visit my mother before adopting a new mischief of rodents. So Pops is the last survivor here. He's getting up there. He's about, you know, 2 years, 7 months. He was a rehome, and the lady who I got him off of, she said she got him in February of 2020. And rat has to be about 6 weeks before they're taken away from their mother, because they're still weaning at that time, up to that point. So, you know, you figure at the bare minimum, he was at least, you know, a month and a half when she got him in early February. So he was probably born either late December 2019 or early January 2020, which would put him at about, you know, 2 years, 6 months, 2 years, 7 months. So, like I said, the average lifespan of the rat is 2 to 3 years. So, my oldest rat was the recently departed Princess Sarissa. Age unknown, but she was at least 3.5, because she was at the mouse rescue for at least 6 months before Arthur and Durf were born. Arthur and Durf were born at the mouse rescue. Somebody got 2 rats, and they ended up getting a boy and a girl, and the girl got pregnant and had a litter. The lady didn't want the litter, so she gave the pregnant rat to the mouse rescue, and they were born at the mouse rescue. So, and they were born on May 19th of 2019. And they lasted almost 3 years. He died in March 17th for Durf, 3 days before his, March 16th, 3 days before his 2-year, 10-month birthday, and Arthur was a day after his 2-year, 10-month birthday. And they were my third and fourth longest living rats. The only one who lived a little bit older was potentially Ernie. He was also he was a rescued snake food, and he was about 3 years 1 month, as far as we can tell, based on how long I had him. So, and then after them would have been Ernie's brother Bert. So Bone Ernie. Bert died about 3 months before Ernie passed away. So he was roughly the same age as probably Arthur and Durf were. So it was weird when I got Bert and Ernie. They were both fed to a snake, but the snake didn't want to eat either of them. So the person gave them a name, and they called them Bert and Rick. I was like thinking, Bert and Rick? That doesn't sound right. You know, like when you think of Bert, you think instantly of Ernie. I can't think of any group with Bert and Rick. Maybe they were like relatives of the lady or something. I don't know. But they became Bert and Ernie. This area is covered with beautiful spots and is known as the last paradise in the Empire. Well, it's not too much of a paradise because Shady Randall's. He's bringing a bad name to the temples. So, you give temples a bad name. A lesser known Bon Jovi hit. Now that was, you give love a bad name. I wonder if he's still performing. So, a lot of these, older, 80s bands, or even, like, late 90s bands seem to be, popping up doing, like, farewell tours or, touring with a bunch of other, bands. We have, down, Norfolk, we have a little, thing called The Scope. It's kind of an arena, and, there's quite a few, you know, rock bands that are doing, tours. Bands that, like, I grew up listening to, like, in the 80s and 90s, in the car. It's weird, like, because all that music when I was growing up, like, I guess it would be considered oldies now. Because when I was growing up, you know, and, go for rides in the, with my dad in the car, you know, he listened to the oldie station. So this is the 80s and 90s, and the oldies was basically music from, you know, 30 years ago. So it was like the 50s and the 60s, was the oldie stations. So if that's the case, you know, music from the 80s and 90s would technically, I guess, be the oldie station now. So, got a full card. Scare away all the minions. Don't need it. What item do we got? A Hydra necklace. Think that boosts a bunch of intelligence? Randall's an ambassador in the name of the temples. Oh, same thing. Tax or blessing of the gods. Well, I think like that, like a man like that is the high monk. It makes me want to spit. Uh-oh. I wonder if it's like gonna be like Dune. Thank you for the gift of your water. I guess the second Dune movie should be. Haven't heard anything about that coming out. I always liked the mini-series that Sci-Fi did of Dune. I think in the early 2000s, that was pretty good. So, and then they also did a follow-up mini-series with of the Dune Messiah and Children of Dune, which followed Paul's twins that he has. I'm trying to remember the girl's name, but the son is Leto, after his father, Duke Leto. And he's easy to remember because he kind of becomes the main antagonist in the fourth book, God Emperor of Dune. He basically becomes, he kind of merges with the Sandworms in Dune Messiah. And so he becomes a hybrid, half man, half sandworm, but he becomes more of a sandworm as time goes on. But he basically becomes a big tyrant, and he does that on purpose, though, because he can see the future, the golden path to survive, to ensure humanity survives. And so he basically has to become this tyrant, this person that everybody hates. In order to ensure the survival of humanity. So, but because he's more of the lore revolves around him than his sister. His sister just basically kind of almost becomes like a part of the Bene Gesserit like breeding program. He ends up having her marry one of the sons of the old Empress Saddam, and that kind of carries on the Atreides line through her because he can't have kids because he's basically a sandworm, and he becomes basically more of a sandworm than person. So yeah, I used to read all the Dune books when I did a lot of reading. That's one series that I end up doing a lot of reading with. So one of those series that unfortunately Frank Herbert did not manage to finish. He was supposed to have a 7th Dune book. Didn't finish, but then his son, along with Kevin G. Anderson, took his notes, and they wrote a bunch of Dune books, both kind of prequels to Dune, and then like interquels, like between novels that Frank wrote for Dune. His son was Brian. I just looked it up real quick here. So, well, there was a lull in the action, but there'll be more action in the next episode when we finish off this map. So take care, have a good day, thanks for following along. Bye!